What's going on, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. One thing I learned early on about the streets is chess, not checkers. It's all about thinking, being 10 moves ahead, not only of your competition, but even with your own peoples, because no king stays king long. It's usually not about who goes the hardest. That doesn't determine who will be the boss man. It's all about money and knowing how to move the pieces on the board, which are usually pawns or street soldiers. They are really the ones who put in the work, from robbing, shooting at the ops, outside all day and night, while the boss enjoys the fruits of their labor. You gotta be wise if you choose that lifestyle. Never be the crash dummy and let someone pump you up to do something they more than likely won't do themselves. It's all based on manipulation. For instance, you have two homeboys that come up from the sandbox together. They take the street route. They meet the plug or man in charge of the operation. From that point on, it's divide and conquer. He doesn't care or have the same love for y'all that you two have for each other. Y'all are both expendable. He decides which one will bring more to the organization and the other is put in the trick bag. Stay on the team, watch your man shine who you started with, while you play goon to a so-called boss you barely know, or become competition and do your own thing. Usually, the one in charge will make that decision for y'all. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we will be taking it to Muskegon Heights, Michigan to discuss a case of a day one homie manipulated to backdoor his friend. Back in 2015, two young men named Josiah Forsyth and Darnell Berg were both in their 20s and trying to figure out life. The two were both from Cincinnati, Ohio, and had been close for over 10 years, even calling each other brothers. Things would get bad for the two when a robbery in their hometown went bad, causing the young woman to lose her life. Their names and another young man will pop up in the case. I will definitely cover that situation in another episode, so I won't speak too much on details. Both Josiah and Darnell had met another man who often visited Cincinnati, named Kyrell Burns. Kyrell, who lived in Muskegon Heights, Michigan, allegedly told the two friends who were looking for jobs, "I could put y'all on with a construction company in my city, making good money." But that was the bait. The two young men, looking for an opportunity, accepted the offer to go to Michigan. Once they got there, Kyrell quickly introduced them to a slightly older man named Jeremy Morton, who went by the nickname Jigs. Jigs seemed cool. He picked Darnell and Josiah up in a motel room, kept a few dollars in their pockets to eat and have leisure fun. But it still wasn't no word of a construction job. Instead, Jigs was a local trapper in the city who was making a name for himself in the streets, but also creating enemies, as it was competition in the streets and he was stepping on toes. Kyrell actually worked for Jigs as muscle and a trap for him. And little did the two friends know that would also be their new job as well. It started slow, Jigs telling Josiah and Darnell to hold smack or girl for him and to be on point if he called. Feeling like they couldn't go back home because their names was hot, they agreed. Plus Jigs was looking out for them. Females, drinks, a place to stay, and money. Then one day, on August 30th, 2015, while Darnell, Josiah, and Kyrell were all cooling, Jigs told them they had to make a move. He alleged his homegirls had been in a bar fight the night before with some men from a neighborhood in the area. Confused, the two friends who didn't know anything about their new surroundings just listened as Jigs gave them guns and said he would drive all three to the location, East Park Manor, a housing project in Muskegon Heights. They were all going there to confront some men. Not comfortable with the move, during the ride, Josiah told Darnell he had a plan. They would get out walk through the projects, ask to buy some grass, and shoot in the air, so Jiggs can think they attempted to hit someone. But as soon as they took a step through the jets, people were on to them, as they never saw the faces around there. Some men approached, asking Darnell and Josiah, like, who is y'all? One man upped the blick, pitted to Josiah, before seconds later, shots went off, and chaos, as it became a full-fledged shootout. Darnell, Kyrell, and Josiah all were trying to get away and shooting to live, as Jiggs was nowhere to be found. Both Josiah and Darnell were grazed, but 3 men from the projects were hit, and unfortunately, one died, a 20-year-old man named Thedrick Bryant. Local police quickly picked up Darnell from a hospital as he was grazed and injured. Both Kyrell and Josiah was able to get out that jam. As detectives interrogated Darnell, he came up with a fabricated story, how he was from out of town and was visiting when dudes approached him and he shot out of fear. When asked who was with him, he made up a name and then gave another name of an associate who was already locked up for multiple bodies in an effort to protect Jiggs, Kyrell, but most importantly, his homie Josiah. As word got back to the team, Jiggs would put some money up to bail Darnell out, as he was never hit with murder charges, just ammunition and weapons. Thinking that was solid, Josiah and Darnell was happy they survived the situation. Both made it out alive and could move on. Concerned they had made enemies in an unfamiliar city, the 2 friends wondered should they just leave, but they would never get a chance to. Jiggs and Kyrell pulled Josiah up by himself. They told the young man they thought his brother, Darnell, told information about the situation and other things they had been involved in around town. Josiah assured them Darnell would never do that, but both Jiggs and Kyrell looked at him like, how you know? They then flipped the script, saying, look bro, we giving you a chance to make it right. We was going to hit both of y'all, but we think you are solid. So Jiggs allegedly ran down a plan to Josiah. He stated, we will tell Darnell we going on a lick, a robbery. I will give you and Kyrell the blitz. Y'all tell Darnell it's not enough guns, so his job is to just kick in the door. The 2 men looked at Josiah and told him to make a decision, either his life or backdoor his homie. He chose to go with the plan. Not even a week after the shootout in the projects, the men came to Darnell stating it was time to move on, something else in the same area. Confused as he had just been grazed and knew they had enemies over there because people were shot by them and one person lost their life, Darnell couldn't believe his homie agreed to this. He stated he wasn't feeling the situation, especially if he didn't have a gun. But outnumbered wasn't nothing he could do. Not wanting the same week, he agreed. It was late in the morning hours on September 5th, 2015. The 3 men, Darnell, Josiah, and Kyrell, pulled up to a dark alley off of Morton Avenue. Once they got out of the car, again Darnell stated he didn't believe they should do the move, but he was told to shut up and let's make it happen. It was time to work. His homie Josiah walked behind him and Kyrell as well. Seconds later, a hail of shots rung out. Police were called in the early morning hours to find a 21-year-old man laying face down in the alleyway. He had been shot over 13 times and pronounced gone on the scene. He was later identified as Darnell Bird. Detectives in the area already knew who was possibly responsible, as names had been ringing that the new kids in town from Cincinnati were working with Jiggs. Police went on a hunt for Jiggs, Kyrell, and Josiah. They got a hit. They were hiding out at a motel in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Detectives would go and stake out the room. They saw a man walking back and forth between 2 motels in the area, also in and out of a public bathroom. They quickly knew it was Jeremy, aka Jiggs. Detectives approached him and placed him in cuffs. They searched his pockets to find over $8,000 in cash, in which he stated it was his grandmother's money. They also searched the back of the public toilet to find over 14 grams of smack. Jiggs was taken into custody, accused of being the ringleader and setting up crimes and arranging a hit of one of his own, Darnell. Detectives accused him of driving the squad to the project, then doubling back after the smoke cleared, picking up Darnell, driving him to a local hospital with knowledge of what just happened, before then setting him up to get knocked off as well. Kyrell was picked up along with Josiah, both charged with murder in the case of Darnell and multiple charges in a project shooting. 2 young women were also charged with accessory after the fact and having knowledge of a hit. As the case started making its way to trial, both Josiah and Kyrell testified on the state's behalf against Jeremy. They stated he had been robbed multiple times in the area and hired them for protection. Josiah broke down, stating, "I can't believe my brother is gone," in reference to Darnell. When asked what happened, he stated he stood back and him and Kyrell both took turns shooting, so they both would be held equally responsible if they got caught. He stated he was in fear for his life and had to make a choice. When asked why he didn't warn Darnell what was going to happen beforehand, he stated he was trying to survive. It was kill or be killed. Kyrell stated the same events. He would receive life for his role in the situation. But it was a problem. Everything was speculation on Jiggs, as there was no evidence he was on any hit scene or gave any directions. Josiah would get a deal for his cooperation. I couldn't find any definite amount of time. As for Jeremy, aka Jiggs, he was labeled as the boss, who turned friends against each other. And the state noted Darnell never made any statements against the squad at all. He actually protected them. He was eventually convicted on the smack charges and sent to federal prison. But as far as the hits, one went in a mistrial and they were saying they was going to try him again while he was in federal custody. I wasn't able to find anything saying he was sentenced or got any more time. Rest in peace to Darnell and Thedrick. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to their families. This goes to show how cruddy the streets can be. Darnell kept it solid and still got backdoored by a man he called brother. Jiggs and Kyrell baited them men from jump. They saw 2 desperate young men, made it seem like they were looking out for them, and used them. Jiggs used them all. He played chess for his own game. If you decide to play in the streets, play for you. Never put yourself in a position another man controls your thinking and movements, or have you doing stuff they probably won't do themselves. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Man, crazy situation. Rest in peace, them 2 young men. I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Let me know what y'all think about the situation in the comments. Definitely be respectful. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. It's your boy Tony 2 times. This is another episode of Hood Tales. I'm out.